Welcome to episode 11 of the CopTalk podcast. I'm joined again by Mark and Jim Lambert. How you guys doing? Mark?
Hey, what up?
Jim?
Fine, thank you for asking.
Oh, I see we're doing impersonations now, or what?
Hey, what's up, Brent?
Oh, that's better. That's the
Hey,
Jim.
Mark.
No,
You're going to have to explain our technical difficulties real quick, though.
no, it's really pointless because...
We can do it in one word, Brent.
Thanks. That is...
Hey, welcome to Cop Talk.
That's the kind of love that I demand from you guys. So tonight, I guess we're going to go with three different topics. We'll do road rage, we'll do panhandling, and then we'll also talk about something a little bit different, which will be a medical topic, and it's probably what I'm about to have, which is a stroke from all the pressure that you guys give me. So let's, first, anybody got any news from this past week?
Yeah, I had something, but I forgot what it was. So we'll go on to Jim.
That's super important.
Yeah.
Jim, anything interesting happened to you in the past week that we can talk about?
Memorial Day weekend on the river was just enlightening. It was very pleasant. It was very... I'm through with the thoughts of wanting to kill myself. So no. Yeah, I was busy over the weekend.
So you're saying that it was busy this weekend?
It was off the hook.
And do you have any statistics for us there other than off the hook?
Yes, my patrol boat burned about 172 gallons of 97 octane fuel at a cost of $4.79 a gallon, and we worked 15-hour shifts, and I missed my niece's housewarming party.
Here you go, Brent. Put it this way. The first holiday of the season and the first time in probably 2 or 3 years where there was very decent weather. So I'm sure people took advantage of that.
Any arrests?
Yes, there were arrests all over the county. And I liked how, I think it was Saturday morning, I read on the news locally that CHP says DUI arrests way down from previous years. But then by Monday night, it's the complete opposite again.
Jim, I read on the news. Now, did you read it in the news or did you hear it on the news?
I read it on the news. Did I hear it on the news?
What he does is he actually turns off the sound and then turns on the subtitles.
Seriously?
Right.
Mark, we're going to be that way? Seriously? Really?
There we go.
So
just making up for the last couple of shows, Jim.
So
CHP reports rise in DUI arrests from last year.
Too
Man
bad.
dies from drugs
on the upswing.
Man dies from drugs taken at Cow Palace rave party.
Oh, let's talk about this for a second. Did you see this on the news?
Yes.
It was friggin' crazy. How does someone even get a permit?
I read it on the news, Brent.
Okay, so I'm curious about something. First, rave party. Did they not expect to have drugs there? Secondly, how do the people that are involved in this feel that the party is somehow responsible for this kid's death?
Of course.
Because he got tainted illegal drugs at the rave.
And he took them.
And exactly how do you stop that?
I don't think they should.
Don't buy drugs.
I don't think they should tie their patrons down and force them to consume those drugs. I think that maybe is where they're.
No, but I mean, it should.
How about some common sense of not buying drugs from somebody that you don't know?
How about just not buying drugs there? Thanks a lot.
I doubt that's probably why most of them go there.
So, rave party, drugs, and the parents were on the news crying about how they missed their kid because he's now dead.
But they said he was a really good, responsible kid.
Of
Even
course.
though he was at a party and doing drugs and he goes to clubs, he goes to work the next day. But the bottom line was he did drugs, he got tainted drugs somehow, and there's other people in comas also due to this.
And these tainted drugs should somehow be screened at the door. Like, are those good drugs or bad drugs?
Yeah, they got to test the drugs at the door to make sure they're good drugs and let them in, and then they could sell it safely in there. Or they could just legalize ecstasy there and sell
Did you say
pure
ecstasy? Did he say ecstasy?
I said ecstasy.
I heard ecstasy.
Hey, we're going to run out
sorry. I
of
just wanted to
15
know what
minutes.
ecstasy was.
That was awesome. Sorry. Okay, so.
Hey, man, you got any ecstasy?
Hey, what were we talking about earlier that you messed up on, Jim? What was
Is
that,
that
Brent?
good? Is that good stuff or bad stuff? That's what I want to know.
Hey, Mark, why don't you be texting me a message about that, and
There we
can
go.
talk about ecstasy.
Well, now that we've insinuated that and assaulted everybody that listens to
I'm
our
starting
show,
to think that Mark is having problems pronouncing T's that are in the middle of a sentence. See, now, like right now, he'd be saying sentence instead of sentence.
Go ahead, take it and run with it, Jim.
So let's move into the first. Well, let's move into the first topic because road rage has no T's in it.
Wait, Mark's texting me. I have to text him back.
You know, Jim doesn't get to make jokes and laugh at himself very often, so I'm just going to let him take it and run with it.
It's good. I think that's brotherly love right there.
All right. I'm getting a lot of ecstasy out of this.
All right, so how do we want to go into road rage? I mean, road rage is something I'm sure both of you have both responded to, probably had. I have it every day when I drive to work. Do you want to give some specific examples of issues that you've dealt with, or how do you want to do it?
We get calls pretty often where somebody's driving down the freeway, they get tailgated, they get all pissed off, and somebody whips around them, cuts them off, they flip them off, they get into a flip-off competition, and then all of a sudden someone pulls a gun, and then they get scared and they call the police and they go, "Oh, somebody just brandished me with a gun on the freeway," and whatnot. But it just totally escalates. A word of advice: it's just a much more dangerous world. When I was young, I admit, if somebody got behind me, tailgated me or whatever, I'd flip them off and play all the games. But now there's so many guns out there. You flip off somebody and all of a sudden they're going to open fire on you and shoot some rounds into your car. So you just got to, I mean, you could yell and scream inside your car all you want to try to get the satisfaction, but you got to control your temper.
So you shouldn't flip them off with your gun.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
then the police get behind you and take you down at gunpoint. They show you their guns.
Oh, well.
But, if somebody starts following you, an important thing, especially if there's a road rage incident, don't pull off on the side of a road somewhere. Go to a busy shopping center. If you know where there's a police department, go to the front of it. Go into a busy gas station, a busy shopping center, because someone's going to be less likely to do something in front of a lot of witnesses. But if you pull off the side of the road, it's kind of a deserted road. Something can happen. Many years ago in Antioch, there was a guy following his wife home at nighttime, and someone started tailgating his wife, and he got all upset and mad. I mean, she wasn't really in any danger, but he got mad someone was tailgating his wife, and he pulled up next to the car and swerved toward him and flipped him off, and all of a sudden, the guy in the other car opened fire on him and killed him right there on the side of the road. So it's just not worth it. It's a really violent world. There's a lot of guns out there, a lot of guns, and it's just not worth, flipping somebody off or doing something in your car to get even when you risk the chance of getting shot.
Jim?
Hello?
Yeah, that's you, buddy. Your turn.
What was the topic?
Put the caffeino down.
No, I was just thinking about Dad. Dad gets a little hot-headed every now and then, and this happened a few years ago, but I think he was still like 75 or 80. He was coming over the hill on Highway 4, and some dude was tailgating him or cut him off, so my dad flips him off. And somehow the two ended up on the side of the road, over on the road shoulder, and my dad gets out, and this friggin' white cranker dude gets out, and they start having words, and I don't remember for sure, Mark. Didn't the guy shove Dad down or something and then took off?
I think they got into a little shoving match before it broke up.
Yeah, and I mean, you'd think that, the dude that has two cops for sons would know better, but my dad let his pride get in the way, and he thought he was going to show this dude who was who. And that's the prime guy that'll come out with a gun and fire around at you and then split like it's no big deal.
Or pull out a knife and give you a quick stab in the abdomen.
over something that was completely stupid. And the best thing to do is just pull over and let the friggin' idiot drive by. And my partner Tommy and I, we'll see like a motorcycle rip by us when we're in the patrol truck, and a patrol pickup truck is definitely not a pursuit vehicle, so it's a lot of stuff we have to let go by. But we look at each other and say, somewhere down the road there's a telephone pole with that dude's name on it, and you got to let karma take it. But doing what my dad did, that's just asking for problems.
Just take a deep breath, let the idiot go by, or pull over, let him go by, and you may get your satisfaction down the road seeing a cop having him pulled over a couple miles up ahead, giving him a ticket. But it's just not worth it. Like I said, there's a lot of guns out there, and it's just not worth it.
Instead of wasting your energy with the dude, use some energy with a pen and paper and write down the license plate number so that we can deal with it.
Or even better, videotape that stuff.
You videotape use your cell phone when you're driving, Brent.
Oh, whatever.
No, Jim's right. If the guy's driving,
wait, like now that's not using your cell phone while you're driving if you're videotaping, right?
That is true. No, if the guy's driving like an idiot and causing a hazard or whatnot, you can call into the highway patrol, and there may be a unit up ahead that's going to be watching for this guy come flying up and be able to nail him. So,
hey, Brent.
Hey, Jim.
Did you have to pick that phone up to get to the camera mode? Did you have to push a button to go to the camera mode? Did you have to use the device holding it up to capture the image on the camera itself? Then that's using a wireless device, dude.
No, Your Honor.
Officer, I was not using my cell phone. I was simply activating the camera part of my phone. Hey, Brent, how much time we got before we get kicked off?
Thanks for bringing that up right in the middle of the podcast so that we can actually have to edit it back to this point now.
Well, you don't think our listeners are going to hear the little click in the middle?
No, but if we planned,
you didn't pay your bills.
If we planned it out right, it would go much smoother. Yeah, but we're at 12 minutes and 13 minutes right now. So
we got at least 3 more minutes.
Not anymore.
Let's let Mark get on one of his 2-minute tangents out of cover this segment.
Jim's just bitter ever since he had his sex change. I don't know what's going on with that.
I guess he hasn't done the voice part yet then.
No.
Got it. So to wrap up road rage.
For being pitiful.
So to wrap up road rage, what are the top tips for road rage?
Get a description, get a license plate if you can, and call the authorities if you're not going to just blow it off and consider that the dude's an idiot and going to wrap himself around a telephone pole down the road. If you feel that strongly about reporting it, then call and report it, but don't engage someone on the side of the road, and don't make it worse by flipping somebody else off back or not in friggin' 3rd grade, and don't do anything to make it worse. Just pull out of the idiot's way and let him go.
No brake checks or anything, and just pull over and let him go. Control your temper. And just remember, don't do something out of anger you're going to regret later. It's just not worth it.
See, now this is something Mark would say. Mark, don't put yourself on somebody else's level. Don't lower yourself to their level.
Isn't that what you just said, Jim?
No, I was saying that for you.
Okay. What's the next thing?
Okay, so that's road rage, and let's move on to the next. Anything else you guys want to add on road rage or no?
I think we've pretty much covered that.
I'm all raged out.
Roid rage. So that's totally different.
Don't give him anything that sounds like droid, or he's going to play that.
Yeah, no, he can't. I got a call from Verizon. They said they need him to stop doing that. So,
hey, I think it's free advertising for him.
No, it doesn't work that way. See, when you have trademarks and copyrights, you have to ask for permission before you do things. So
ask permission and then play it.
Okay, so panhandling. Panhandling is a huge topic in the book. It's actually almost 5 pages, which is actually incredibly long for one of these topics. So, thank you, Jim.
Don't tell Jim that he can't do something.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have podcast rage.
All right, I'm done.
Are you? Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, who wrote Panhandling? Was that Jim?
That'd be me.
That'd be so. You picked all stories that you wrote. So Jim didn't have anything to talk about tonight, or?
No, we're going to do the stroke one.
Oh, that's because he's going to have one. That's right.
Yeah, Jim causes a lot of people to have that, so
Stroke out.
he's an expert at it.
Okay, so panhandling, go for it.
Actually, Jim's going to be able to input a lot into this also from the affluent city where he used to work.
Oh,
But, a
that's
lot
true.
of people feel sorry. You come up to a freeway off-ramp or an intersection, and you see the gruffy guy with the beard or the girl standing there with a little cardboard sign saying, homeless, vet, need work, please help. And, it tugs on people's heartstrings. They feel sorry. Heartstrings. See, there was a T in the middle of that. And I said it just fine, Jim.
Yeah, I don't have any heart, so I'm cool.
Yeah, but I mean, people feel sorry and they throw them 50 cents, a dollar, whatnot. There are people out there that truly need the help, but I guarantee you the majority of these people, as soon as they get enough for a 40-ounce bottle of beer, they're at the liquor store buying their 40-ounce, or they're saving up enough money to buy some drugs. They don't want a job. They don't want the help. They want the easy way out. Like I said, I'm not going to put them all down because there are people out there that are truly homeless that truly need the help. But the majority of people you see in the middle, the medians and the freeway off ramps, they're nothing but drug addicts or drunks that we deal with on a daily basis. And I mean, if you want to help them out, tell them where to go, where there's a shelter or something. It just enables them by giving them money to be able to go get their beer, because then the police have to deal with them 2-3 hours later when they're drunk causing disturbances at gas stations, and they get aggressive a lot of times. Just don't give them money. They like I said, they try to go after people, the sympathy, they stare at you and they want you to give them money. Some people give them money out of fear, but just don't give them money. And Jim's got actually a story about a couple in an affluent city where he used to work, where Jim actually talked to him, and they were using a little kid as a ploy, weren't they, Jim?
Yeah, they had a kid in a stroller. They're out at 11 o'clock at night in front of a Safeway store, and I asked them, and the bottom line was that's exactly why they were there. They make more doing that than they do on unemployment. And they were staying at a little motel out there by where Mark works, and they'd hop on the bus and go to this rich, affluent community about 12 miles away because they knew that's where the money was. And people think they're doing the good thing by reaching into their wallet and pulling out a 1 or a 5 or a 20 or whatever, and they think they're doing the the right thing, but all they're doing is encouraging someone to not go out and get reestablished in society.
So this is the story that's in the book here. It says he pulled out close to $280 in 20s,
Yep.
5s, and 10s, and he said, "Why should I go work in a glass booth at a self-serve gas station when I can make this every day tax-free?"
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good deal, man.
Jim did write this article. And, the thing is, if you want to do something, donate to a homeless shelter or a good cause like that. Don't give the people the money on the street. And I got to admit, the homeless was a big pain in the butt. Or can you say ass? Pain in the ass? Can we say that, Brent?
Can now.
Yeah, they were a pain in the ass out in front of our local Walmart. They were out in the center median. There was like 3 or 4 of them. And they're standing on this little tiny skinny median at the turn pocket for Walmart, and people are handing them money. They're standing right out in the middle of the street. And every time I went through, I'm usually on the way to another call, so I'd get on the PA speaker and yell, "Get off the median." Or they'd see me coming and they'd dart through traffic trying to get off there before I saw them. I wrote this one guy, and his name was Lenny. I must have written him 15 or 20 tickets. And most of the ones that I have talked to, I've seen them with, they're high on drugs later on. They're drunk as can be, arrest them for drunk later on. But I never saw Lenny drunk or on drugs. And I got to talking to him, and he was actually a Vietnam vet. He was homeless. He lost everything, lost his ass in a bitter divorce, and he had nowhere to go, nothing to do. All he would do is try to make enough money to go get a Subway sandwich and survive the day. And the more I talked to him, the more I realized he wasn't like the regular homeless I was dealing with. And to make a long story short, I know Jim wants me to cut it short. I felt this is the one guy I felt sorry for. I've been a cop 20 years and I've never done this before, but Lenny was different than all the other drunks. And I asked him, I said, Lenny, if you could go anywhere you wanted, where would you go? And he said, I'd go back to Missouri to my family. He goes, I'm stuck here, Lambert. He goes, I barely make enough money to eat. I can't get away. I have nowhere to go. I'm stuck here. And so I talked it over with my wife, and we decided to help him out. And I actually bought him a train ticket, Amtrak train ticket back to Missouri. I got a hold of his relatives. They offered to take him in. Gave him a couple of $100 to get some new clothes and a haircut. And he was on his way, and he actually called me last Christmas to thank me for helping him out, giving him a second chance, because he says, you know, people usually in his position don't get a second chance, and he thanked me for giving him that second chance. And that's one of the very few people where I took it to the extreme and helped him out, because most of them are drunks and drug addicts, but he wasn't, so it felt good to help him out.
Well, at least it turned out positive, too. It didn't turn out blowing up in your face.
Right. Where I saw him on the median, you know, a month later back in, you know, the
saying thanks, dude, for the money.
Yeah, I actually went to the train station and got him on his way. So, but it was really nice. I had a couple of local businesses donated some new clothes for him, and it worked out really, really well. But he was an exception to the rule of you know, the people standing in the medians. But I took the time to actually talk to him, get to know him, and find out a little bit more about him. But the majority of these people you see on the medians, 3 hours later, they're staggering down the street, drunk as can be.
Right. Well, I was actually, remember back, I don't know, it was a year or two ago, they still have the issue in San Francisco with the aggressive panhandling rule, where these people would just literally like come up to you and just demand money from you. So I was there with a couple buddies, and literally we had a guy, I mean, it almost came to blows trying to ask for money. And I basically told him, I said, I got no problem buying you dinner, sandwich shop right there, we'll get you some food. And that guy said, you crazy? I don't want food. I want booze. I mean, he told me straight up. And I'm like, okay, well, then you're not going to get anything from me. He got really not happy with that. So he ended up going to jail. But not by my hand.
There's a lot of people that try to intimidate, you know, by fear. They go up to people and they you know, they ask for money, and they make people afraid of them, and they give them money.
Yeah.
But I saw a cute picture on the internet where the guy was honest. He was sitting on the side of the road with a cup, and it said, need money for liquor research or beer research or something. And the guy was honest. I'd donate to that. The guy's being honest.
Liquor research.
Yeah.
I need to see how many different brands I can drink while sitting out here on the median.
See, San Francisco actually just passed that don't sit, don't lay law, whatever it is.
Yeah, some new rule. They are aggressive about their panhandling rules. They're straight up. They don't like it there because they know
they got very aggressive panhandlers.
Well, and they also, I mean, they have they have people coming to that city to see the city, and they're getting chased out of it by the homeless people.
Yeah, I went down to Fisherman's Wharf. I haven't been down there in a long time, and took my wife down to Fisherman's Wharf. And on some parts of that, when you're walking from one pier to the other, you're stepping over homeless people. And there's other ones that are just, I mean, you talk about being mentally disabled. I mean, they're scary. They're just yelling and screaming at nobody and begging for money and scaring people. Especially, you got to imagine somebody from another country coming here. They're so intimidated by people like this. They just fork over all their money.
Hey, when I was 14, we went there on a school trip, and I had my butt handed to me by some gangbangers in that city because I stuck up for a friend of mine saying, hey, don't beat my friend up. Oh, yeah, they beat me up instead.
Yeah.
It was good. Broke my nose twice, same day.
No wonder you don't like panhandlers.
Well, they weren't panhandling, though, but that's quite a story. We'll save that for the gangbanger episode.
There you go.
So,
bottom line, though, is if you see someone panhandling on a roadway or an intersection, call the police. I mean, we'll come out, identify him, and determine if he has a criminal history, or give him alternative resources or whatever. Don't give him money. As Jim put in the book, every time you do, you're contributing to the problem, not the cure. If you feel you really want to help, donate to a local shelter. That'll go toward people that really need it. You know, women and children and people that are actually looking for help end up in shelters, so not just looking for beer or something.
So don't feel guilty that you drove past them. Go give some other way.
Right. Give to a way that you know the people are going to get help, because chances are your money's going to be downed in a 40-ounce bottle of King Cobra or or something within a couple hours as soon as they get enough money for some beer. And anybody that's aggressive or any threatening ones, immediately call the police. I mean, that's not going to be tolerated at all.
Okay.
So
Jim?
that's my tips. How about you, Jim? Anything?
No, I agree completely. And that was cool what you did for that vet. It reminded me of a couple years back when I was working out by Brentwood. I went to a 415 physical between two brothers. One was 15 and one was 17, and I mean they were going at it. And I forget what it was over, but the kid and the brother, I mean, it was just inevitable. They were never going to get along. And mom and dad didn't speak English. They were Hispanic, didn't know what to do, and they had tried to get the two brothers to get along, but basically he had family in Texas, and they had made arrangements for him to stay in Texas, but he had no means to get there whatsoever. So, you know, I mean, when you've been doing this job for a while, you can look in someone's eyes and see whether they're the real deal or if they're just, you know, full of crap. And this family was very sincere, and the kid sincerely wanted to get to Texas and start a new life out there. And I kind of did what you did, Mark. I went to the ATM. It was Christmas Eve. I drew out $100, and I told the kid, "Hey, anything other than you ended up in Texas, and I'll come down and hunt you down myself." But you know, I didn't file charges for the physical, you know, or for the fight or anything, and they had no way to get this kid over to the train station, so I drove him. I got permission to drive him over to Stockton to the nearest Amtrak, and he called me the next day from Texas, and his aunt and uncle both talked to me, and you know they were real appreciative. But sometimes, you know, I mean, not every cop in the world's gonna give a guy a couple $100 or $100 to get going, but you know, it's all about the sincerity. And 99.9% of these people panhandling have no sincerity whatsoever. They're out there gaming you. They just want your money, and it's not going to be for anything to make their life better. It's either for drugs or for alcohol, and all you do by giving them money is make it easy for them. So.
Well, like you said, once you've been doing this job for a long time, you can cut right through the BS and you know who's real or not. And in your case, you saw it in this kid's eyes. In my case, it was, you know, getting to know Lenny over the course of a month or two, and you know, never seeing him drunk, never seeing him high, unlike all the other ones. And he was the exception to the rule. So every now and then you come across somebody that truly, truly needs help, but you're not going to know that by, you know, stopping next to somebody on a freeway off ramp or a median for, you know, for a minute or two. You're not going to know that. So put your money where it'll really help somebody in a shelter or homeless fund.
Okay, so that's good on that, and now let's move right into medical emergencies, which is something I feel like I'm going to have every day.
You know, that's something that Jim wrote in this book, and he's going to cover the most of it because we were actually touched by that in our family. And
right. No, this is good, and I think hopefully he'll talk about most of the points that are covered in here. So.
Because a lot of times we'll hear it, and most of the times we don't go to these calls. As a police officer, you hear the calls come out, medical responding for a possible stroke, you know, such and such a address, and we usually don't go to those, but you hear them all day long. And like I said, our family was touched by it. So our show, we normally talk about cop stuff, but Jim was in the medical field for a while. And so I thought it'd be good to change gears and do a topic that could affect pretty much anybody on any given day.
Well, and this is definitely a topic, especially with the economy down the toilet and everything else going. Everybody's running under a ton of stress, so this would be a good topic to cover.
Well, I mean the topic in the chapters in the book just cover briefly, you know, some of the more important stuff, heart attack and stroke, but it's, you know, you really can't nail it down with just one specific ailment. You know, we wrote about mom's stroke because that was something unexpected and sudden, and you know, dad did the right thing by, you know, a lot of people when they get stricken by a sudden illness, they're either embarrassed or they want to deny anything's wrong, and the first thing they tell you is, no, I'll be okay, don't call 911, you know, I'll just lay down for a while, and then an hour later they're deceased. But
you know, I feel the same way. I mean, unless I cut my leg entirely off with a chainsaw or something, I wouldn't want the fire department ambulance coming to my house. So I can understand the embarrassment, but people got to realize you could die from that. I think in Mom's case, the whole side of her face and arm and side was numb, and she could barely stand. And she was saying, "I'll be okay. I'm okay." And luckily, like you said, Dad did the right thing and called for medical.
Well, I don't.
I thought if you go over some of the warning signs to look for, a lot of people will ignore chest pains or ignore different things, saying it's just indigestion. And I thought, being in the medical field, you can give a few tips on some warning signs that could be serious.
Yeah, and I've seen many of these things happen, on the street. Actually, I think I might have been working with you, Jim, when we had a really weird one in the city that we were working in, where the guy had all kinds of weird signs. It was sort of stroke, didn't know what he should do. He was disoriented, all that stuff, and we ended up saving his life because we called, the fire department there. But it's just one of those things that I think somebody called that in that night, and they were like, guy's just acting strangely, and all of a sudden it wasn't related to just him being strange. It was all medical related.
Well, you hear about it all the time with like the beta breakers, joggers having heart attacks and or in the grocery store. I mean, you hear fire responding, all this, but anytime you're having any type of unprovoked chest pain, especially if you don't have a history of it, the sharp chest pain, numbness or tingling, particularly in the left arm, any type of paralysis or numbness to one side of the face, thick speech. A lot of these symptoms can almost give somebody the signs of being intoxicated with the thick speech and the paralysis to the face, but those are actually strong signs of a stroke. You'll have, a stroke affects one side of the body only, not both. One pupil will be larger than the other pupil. One side will be completely weak and almost not usable compared to the other. It's the first thing you do when you're checking for someone that has a stroke, is squeeze both my hands, and the person will be squeezing the right hand, really strong, and the left hand there's nothing, and they think that they're squeezing both. But that's with a stroke. A heart attack, same thing. Any shortness of breath, chest pain. One thing I really look for is the color of somebody. If they're extremely pale, bluish tint to the lips, if they're profusely sweating, and when you touch them, their forehead, they'll be really cool to the touch, but profuse sweating and coolness to the touch, those are extremely poor skin signs, and that means something's going on in your body. And it could be heat stroke, could be a regular stroke, could be a heart attack, anaphylactic shock from getting stung by a bee, anything. But that you can't just nail it down with the stroke like Mom had. More recently, like just a couple days ago, a buddy of mine that owns a jet ski shop locally was working on a trailer, and they were getting ready to head out of town to go to their parents' cabin for the Memorial Day weekend, and all he wanted to do was get this job done. He's working on a trailer replacing the bearings, and he said that he wanted to take a shortcut and try and replace the bearing while it was on the trailer, instead of doing it the right way and taking the whole thing off and putting it in a vise on the shop. Well, he was using a powerful air tool to get this one part of the bearing off, and it ended up disintegrating, and he never felt it, but he said he felt this wetness on his left arm, and he looked down, and blood was spurting out of his arm about 1.5 to 2 feet.
Cool.
And he's going, what the hell? And he didn't feel anything. So he like wiped away the blood, and he sees this little tiny pinhole that this blood's spurting out of. So he gets a rag, and the rag is instantly saturated in bright red blood. And I mean, the sign of that is it was arterial, bleeding. I mean, somehow what ended up happening is something blew from using the air tool. It disintegrated the bearing, and a piece of metal, a little tiny, almost can't see with the naked eye, piece of metal ricocheted into his arm. And it stopped, the x-ray showed that it stopped about 1/2 centimeter away from the bone itself, but it went through the artery, which is what was causing that bright, strong pumping of blood. Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is one of the guys that were there says, man, we wish you had been here, because it was like 5 grown men running around not knowing what to do. And it's so basic to me, because as he's telling me that, I'm thinking, okay, direct pressure, elevation, Worst case scenario, a tourniquet and immediate transport to the hospital. But to me, it's second nature because I've been dealing with it for so long. But to 5 grown men who are completely unexpected for this, they don't know any better. It's like, what do we do? What do we do? And that panic can often lead to some dire consequences. So, aside from what our book says, it's got some good information about medical emergencies and what you should do. But whether it's a car accident out on the street, an industrial accident at work, sudden symptoms at home for a medical problem that you may or may not have, a seizure. Seizures probably are the scariest thing you'll ever see when somebody's having one, but they're also about the most harmless, as drastic as they look. It's not like where they say in the movies, give me a spoon, I've got to put a spoon in his mouth to keep him from swallowing his tongue. That kind of stuff never happens. It doesn't happen, and the seizure is going to be over in about a minute and a half. But aside from the symptoms, I'm just going to recommend that everybody, at least 1 or 2 people in a household or in a family, does their family justice and goes through an American Heart Association or a Red Cross CPR course where you learn the basics for all this stuff, a first aid class or a CPR course. ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation. 25 years ago, that's what I learned taking care of patients, and 25 years later, it's the same thing. ABCs, airway, is the person breathing okay? Breathing, are the lungs expansive? Is everything going okay? And circulation, does the person have a pulse? And along with that instruction, you learn about all these emergencies that can take place at work or home. So the courses are usually very, very inexpensive, like under $20. You get a certificate, but more so peace of mind. If you're at that family dinner at Christmas time, and God, I hate hearing these calls when I'm working on holidays, but you do. The grandfather or somebody in the family chokes. Nobody knows what to do. They call 911. They're screaming. There's hysteria heard on the phone in the background because the person's turning blue, and nobody knew, to do the Heimlich maneuver or what to do to clear an obstructed airway or how to do CPR. And that's how you lose people in your family that'll never come back.
Yeah, or they're doing it wrong and making it worse.
Exactly. So, there's so many things that can happen to you in life, whether you're out camping and it's getting bit by an insect or a snake or something else. Going through one of these 8-hour courses for the American Red Cross or the Heart Association will give you a lot of peace of mind and education to be able to handle these situations when you're out on your own. A paramedic's not always going to be 5 minutes away, like when you're at your house, or your home. If you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Could be anything. Could be you're driving down the freeway and an auto accident happens right in front of you, and you get out and there's little kids that need help. A severe cut, anything. It just could be at the workplace. Somebody goes down at your workplace. It's in your everyday life, something could happen right around you, and it's good. Like Jim said, it's good to have that training to be able to not panic and know, the basics of what to do. No one expects you to be a doctor, and do that stuff. But if you know the basics, you can control bleeding. You could do CPR and get somebody breathing again. You could do the basics and save someone's life.
Well, and I guess in general that rolls into a lot of local police departments have programs that, like Citizen on Patrol type program or one of these other programs that people can get involved with if they want to learn some of those other basics that happen and get more involved in their community too. So a lot of different options out there.
Yep.
I agree.
Just flipping through the articles here. Looks like your local fire department made an impression here, Jim.
Which one?
Consolidated. They were.
Oh, the ones that responded to my
to your mom's thing.
Yeah, it was a guy I worked with years before at the ambulance company.
Small world, huh?
Yep.
Well, that's good. So I guess the person that reacted the quickest was your dad, though, right? Because he knew from dealing with you two for his whole life that he had to react quickly.
Yeah, Dad gets 5 stars for that one. A stroke. It's. A stroke is a shortage of blood to the brain, and it can cause permanent paralysis or permanent damage. And you see a lot of people that have had strokes that weren't able to make a complete recovery. They're walking with basically a serious limp, an arm in a sling. There's droopage on the same side of the face. They talk with great difficulty, limited memory. I mean, it can have long-term effects if you don't get it right away. And our mom is so lucky. She's had a 99.9% recovery because of the treatment she got so quickly, both in the field and at the hospital. So, we were real lucky with our mom. But a lot of people don't recognize it as something to be dealt with immediately, and they let it go, and then it's too late.
Even the small signs, not just the the flat out telltale signs, but some people may feel dizzy or nauseous, or they just may not feel right, and they say, "I'll just lay down, I'll be okay." But if any of these symptoms persist, because there's people that I know have had mild strokes or mild heart attacks that just kind of blow it off, saying, "I'll just lay down and take a rest, I'll feel better lately." But if you're having small ones like that, it's a matter of time before the big one sets in.
Yeah, and high blood pressure has a lot to do with that too. So if you're one of these people running around with a normal blood pressure of 250 over 140, you probably want to see a doctor and get that. I mean, that's my normal rate, but that works for me. I don't recommend that for anybody else. But that's where I would give a plug to Cafino with 32-ounce non-fat ice lattes with 8 extra shots. But
I'd say if anybody sees that number ever on a BP cuff in any respect, they should see a doctor.
Yeah, that's but again, more recently, Mark was getting worried about my dad, and my dad, he's 85, 86 now. He was looking real pale and real ashen. He'd get out of breath, when you talk to him, just anything more than a minute, you could hear him kind of, not gasping for air, but you could tell he was short of breath.
He was short on breath.
And it finally, not short on breath, short of breath, Mark. Did you say short on
whatever.
breath? Anyway, he finally went to the hospital and they did some tests. And he had a major form of, I guess, what they would call walking pneumonia. I mean, they withdrew, I think, 2 liters of fluid from around one of his lungs. And the doctor said it was almost a record of the amount of fluid that he extracted, from somebody's outer lung cavity. And my dad was bummed out because he didn't hold the record. I guess he just missed it. But your body will tell you when something's wrong, and whether it's dizziness or sharp pains or numbness or paralysis or nausea or profuse sweating, anything that's not right, you really got to pay attention to what your body's telling you and see a doctor.
Speaking of records, I think Jim has set the new record for babbling for the last 15 minutes.
Actually, it's a long story, but we're now into our next 15-minute segment. So
I got an article I see.
Just to wrap up medical, let's just like for a quick 15 seconds each, what are the biggest topics? Mark, you can start.
Well, my biggest thing is, like Jim said, get some training, learn the basics. There's so many things could happen, whether it's in your family, whether it's just driving down the road, walking down the street. Get some training to know the basics. There's some courses, Red Cross, they offer the CPR classes, other medical stuff. Some of them are 4 hours long. Some of them could be a full day, but most cities will post it in the paper that they have a training course, and you could sign up. It's cheap, and it's invaluable to have that training.
And Jim, anything to round it out?
No, I mean, it's like driving down the street. If you carry extra gas in your car, or radiator fluid, or an extra fan belt, or a flashlight, or anything on your car, you don't have to be a mechanic to know how to use it. But when your car starts messing up and something's going wrong with it, you have the basic tools, to get to a regular repair shop that's going to fix it. Well, it's the same with your body. When your body's telling you that something's wrong, or if you're involved in an accident, like my buddy at work with the arterial bleeding, if you know the basic tools to use and how to use them, you're going to come out 100% better than if you don't. And whether you're just panicked and try driving your car 30 miles to the next gas station with no water in it, I mean, you're going to cause dramatic damage to your car. Well, it's the same thing with your body. And if you take that 8-hour course through the Red Cross or the American Heart Association and get the training and have an ample first aid kit at home or in your vehicle, you're going to be a lot better off.
Hey, even if you just have the training to be able to be helpful and not part of the problem, that's good enough even.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen many people turn a situation that was really not that big a deal into a straight up disaster. All right, well, that covers those topics. Do you guys want any other stuff that we want to chat about tonight, or do we want to wrap it up?
Any questions? Any questions to answer, like from listeners?
No.
No shout-outs to anybody?
No shout-outs.
Oh, man.
I think people are worried.
I'd be happy just to get one. Just to get one. Somebody write in and tell us where you're from, just so you can get a shout-out.
And a free book. So I think that part of the issue is that this is a tough deal to ask questions about, because anonymity is something that people like to maintain. Well,
that is a big word for Brent. I had a T in it also.
Yeah, and I got it all out without messing it up.
He did. We're going to give you a book.
That's sweet. I've got them in my garage, so we're good to go. I think that's something.
Just anything, just any comments or anything. We'd love to hear from somebody. Just to write in. You don't have to give us your name. Just write in. Let us know what you'd like to hear. If you got a question, that's fine. This is your opportunity to ask a cop a question. You could be anonymous about it.
Yeah.
So, hey, I got a quick something in the news I just saw today, and this is one of the things, like Jim says, don't be stupid and take things into your own hands. We covered confrontations last week, about confronting your neighbor over the loud music or whatever. This is out of East Richmond. 2 men in the unincorporated East Richmond Heights neighborhood went to the hospital Sunday after trying to retrieve a dog from neighbors who stabbed them. One of the victims took his dog for a walk in the neighborhood Sunday night. The sheriff's department said 2 men approached on the 2200 block of Cypress Avenue, stole his dog, and beat him unconscious. After waking, the victim went home, told his family about it. Now, do you think they called the police? No. He apparently knew his attackers because he and a relative went to a house on the 2200 block to confront them.
Good plan.
The men responded by meeting them on the porch and stabbing each one several times with knives. Someone called 911 about 10:40 p.m. and the paramedics took away the victims who had non-life-threatening injuries. Deputies found the suspects faking sleep at the house but arrested them anyway on suspicion of attempted murder and other felonies. They arrested an 18-year-old man and a 16-year-old juvenile. And the dog was a 3-month-old pit bull, and they do not know if the authorities recovered it. But that's a classic example where you should call the police, let the police handle it. But you got to take something into your own hands, and look what happens. Didn't we touch on something like that last week about 415s, loud noises?
Yeah, party calls and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just another example of don't do stupid things. And
here's one for stupid.
Oh.
A man calls 911 after his mother takes his beer. A 32-year-old dude called 911 numerous times to complain about his mom stealing his beer.
I told him.
I can understand that. That was a homeless guy, and he was on the median for 4 hours trying to earn enough money to get that 40-ounce bottle of beer.
I thought I convinced him not to publish this article.
This guy told the deputy that his mother took his beer and he wanted her arrested. He reportedly was very intoxicated when the deputy was there, and he told the deputy that he would keep calling emergency responders if his mother wasn't charged and arrested. And in turn, he was charged with making false 911 calls and was jailed on a $150 bond.
I think the part they left out was after the deputy stopped laughing, the man was charged with a...
That's beautiful.
Oh.
Then we were talking about karma earlier.
Yes.
I'm trying to see
what was her last
happened.
name, Jim? Karma who?
That's a stripper name. Don't ever. No.
Lightning strike that killed inmate was bizarre accident. I'm not sure how bizarre that was. A lightning strike that killed one inmate and injured 5 others at a correctional institution
Jim,
on Memorial Day is being called a bizarre accident. Well, what else would it be called? No, it was an intentional accident.
Was that his third strike?
All the prison guards got together and rigged extension cords together and see, I'm trying to find what he was in there for. Apparently all these inmates were in the recreational yard in the middle of a lightning storm and
holding up fishing poles.
Holding up fishing poles. And this one was struck by lightning. That's a shame.
That is.
I love the one, it was San Francisco or Oakland or something like that. I saw it last week. A woman was found in the bay, zipped inside of a suitcase. And they said the police are investigating this as a possible homicide. Okay. What was it, a suicide?
I'm going to zip myself in this bag and chuck myself in the bay.
I swear, right on the news, on TV, it said police are investigating it as a possible homicide.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, were you on duty for the Antioch High School shooting?
I think I had just gotten off.
You don't know anything about this thing?
No, they've had 2 of them up in the over there. They had one up, but they had one at one of the high schools. The city has 2 high schools, and they had actually a shooting at both of them.
Well, at least they don't, you know.
One of the high schools has a lot of violence. They had a shooting there. They had stabbing.
All gang-related stuff?
Well, they were kind of blowing it off, saying, they were all non-students that came here to fight students and
possible homicide.
Yeah. A lot of the schools are having some issues. It's not just out in East County or anything. There's a lot of problems all over the place with violence in the schools.
Well, I mean, I don't have any kids in school, so the last time I went to school was when I was in school. So I guess the question is it really that bad in schools these days?
Yes and no. There's people are bringing knives, and occasionally they're bringing guns, and they get in a confrontation. Unfortunately, the kids nowadays, back when we were young, if you had a confrontation, you get in a fist fight. The next day, you're best friends, and people are just shooting each other over confrontations now. There's, like we mentioned earlier, there's just a lot of guns out there, and they're desensitized to where the first sign of any kind of confrontation, the first thing that comes out is a weapon, and they're using it. So,
well, I mean,
it's really kind of a shame the way
in the last year, how many weapons do you think came out of schools in your area? I mean, are we talking about a lot?
I'd say probably at least 10 to 15 arrests, and that's just arresting the kids where it was brought to somebody's attention they had it.
Right.
There's a lot more kids that have it that just, they got something in their locker, they got something in their pockets or backpack or something, but just the ones where, somebody saw something, probably at least 15 to 20 kids have been arrested. And that's middle school kids also, as well as high school. In fact, every now and then you get a call to an elementary school.
I was lucky to get my books to school. I couldn't imagine carrying a gun.
Well, you read articles where kids in elementary school, brings a gun from home because they think they found it in dad's drawer, and they bring it for show and tell, and it goes off in the classroom. There was an article last week about that.
Sweet.
Yeah. So
this is my dad's .44 Magnum. This is how it works. Click.
Hey, are we giving credit for honesty?
Sure.
This dude was arrested over the weekend on suspicion of his 6th DUI.
Oh.
And apparently he was arrested after his car struck a utility pole and a parked car. And when police asked him how much he had to drink, the dude said, "I'm drunk, what can I say?" When he was asked to perform certain field sobriety tests, he was unable to finish, telling police, "It ain't happening." He was arrested, and his blood alcohol level was 0.194. That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure I've been on calls with you for a DUI arrest where the guy actually said, "Dude, it ain't happening."
Yeah.
Just take me to jail.
Well, it's nice to know that rehabilitation works, because this dude was hooked in 1990, 96, 2000, 2003, and 2006. And
so he's got about a 3-year span when it wears off.
Yeah,
that's
pretty amazing. At least he waits till he's off probation.
It's amazing. You see these people that have been arrested, 8, 9, 10 times for DUI, and they're still out there driving. But people say don't give them a license. That ain't gonna stop them. These people, they probably haven't had a license in a while. They're gonna climb in a car and drive anyway.
Foul odor at church leads to discovery of body in the attic. Maybe we won't touch that one.
Yeah, that we'll save that one for another day. All right,
his name wasn't Lenny, was it?
Oh. Man.
All right, why don't we wrap it up, and we'll answer all the questions that people write in next week.
Yeah, well, I'll dig through and find some more people. I'll hit Twitter and see if we can pull some questions out of some people. So
maybe if we start offering to pay people.
Hey, we're almost up to like over 1,000 people on Twitter, so that's good. So
okay, one person out of that 1,000, please write us and tell us where you're at.
That's not to say that we've never been written a question. Let's not get this wrong. We had like 30 or 40 questions. We've gone through most of them. So now we're just asking for more. So,
dude, this is the internet. You can make up whatever you want. Can't you say, Brittany wrote in asking if it's true that if she unbuttons 4 buttons of her blouse, if she'd get off on a speeding ticket?
Well, that was probably how you met her, Jim.
Well, it is.
So it worked.
But it was 5 buttons.
There's your answer.
All right.
So, all right. Well, I'll hit the internet and see what I can make up for next week. But that the offer still stands with the questions that we use on the air. We will definitely give people books. I'm actually sending out 2 books this week to people that ask
and
questions.
And that's a $19.95 value.
All right, so we got to wrap it up. We'll see everybody next week. Go to
Mark,
our site.
In the meantime, keep texting me those messages, huh?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Jim, and make sure you take your medication for the sex change. You know what could happen if you don't.
Got to fall off again. So website, coptalk.info. Ask your questions anonymously, and we'll see all you guys next week.
All right,
see ya.
Stay safe.